GM, Saturday. And here's the chart. Only one thing to say.
It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
Couldn't put it better myself. So, looks like shit. And so begins everybody panicking and complaining and crying and bitching and moaning for the next few months to set up the nice golden bull run to the end of the year. Right. If you didn't see yesterday's daily levels, you should watch it because I basically break down exactly why I think the top's in on Bitcoin. And the main point of that would be Grayscale and GBTC. As we've now seen with 2 days of flows from the ETF, they were an absolute shit show in terms of the net. The net has been massive outflows, meaning all the ETF buyers that bought Bitcoin wasn't enough to outweigh Grayscale, dumping 500 million net outflows. So essentially, what the ETFs are a way for the Grayscale insiders to cash out and the whales to get out of their dog shit GBTC trade and have it converted over into into an actual Bitcoin ETF. So this is good, by the way. This is good because it means that people will be more hesitant to sell. They'll probably just say, well, some of them will keep it. But in the short term, so basically, if Grayscale's fund had remained as a just a trust and didn't get converted to an ETF, there would be still a discount, right? There would still be a discount, but because there'd be BlackRock ETFs and stuff, there would have been massive outflows. People would have just taken the loss, whatever, 10%, 20%, and they would have just dumped their GBTC shares and then redeemed, and then you would be left saying, are they going to actually put it back into an ETF or are they just going to sell it? Because at that point they'd have to decide, do we just keep the Bitcoin or do we just sell the Bitcoin, or do we actually bother to put it into a new ETF wrapper? Alright, anyway. Whatever Grayscale holders are going to do, we don't know. But DCG themselves own a decent amount of... And I can't believe I had to go onto TikTok to get that clip. Low T. Grayscale, DCG, GBTC holdings. Right. There should be a GBTC share ownership. Should be able to see who owns it. Hmm. 74 institutional owners. Here we go. So Horizon, ARC, Kinetics. So a lot of these Kinetics, Paradigm, Morgan Stanley, Kinetics. Rothschilds, lol. So I'm guessing that fucking these guys. I'm guessing Horizon Kinetics Asset Management. This has gotta be fucking Digital Currency Group, no? Or some way connected to them. One of these Kinetics fucking things. Independently owned. Straight to the About section. Let's see. Found in 1984, blah, 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 blah. So, regardless, the DCG own a significant amount of the GBTC trust, right? So I'm already starting to see whispers of this online. And it's already too late. People who start calling the top now, it's already too late. You're not smart to call the top now. So while I'm saying that obviously what happened yesterday and on Thursday does confirm my suspicion that we'd topped, it also doesn't mean that, I mean, this is like the best thing you could see. Because people are already getting super bearish on Bitcoin. Now, there's still quite a bit who just think this is a dip. Oh no, this is just dip. This is just bullish selling. Of course, some were going to sell, blah, blah. There's definitely plenty of denial. Don't mistake me. I am extremely, what's the word? I am a lot more pessimistic about the short-term path of Bitcoin than most people. Nobody is more bullish than me long-term, but short-term, I think Bitcoin, and short-term I mean the next few months, Bitcoin's set to massively underperform because it's going to be under the weight of all this selling. And Grayscale, DCG, plus, that's just them, plus all the other whales, they don't care about you. The ETF's listing is a way for them to exit. It's exit liquidity. That's been 100% proven. And if you think otherwise now, with all the facts that we have and what I laid out yesterday, you're being deluded. It's exit liquidity, 100%. They've taken it. They're using it. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that this means Bitcoin goes down forever. Oh, it's going back to 12K and it's going to blah, blah, blah. Like, I literally saw that today. Somebody put up the Grayscale of $35 billion in holdings, which they do. 600,000 Bitcoin, right? And someone was like, oh, 12K won't even hold. Like, you're a fucking idiot. You're literally a fucking idiot. It's not how markets work. First of all, they're not going to sell $35 billion worth of Bitcoin. Secondly, for it to go to 12K would indicate that nobody wants to take the other side. There's no demand. It's just, no. The whole thing was a scam just for them. That's not true either. This is one big holder or a big group of holders that were stuck in a bad trade for years that are getting out of it. Right? DCG and Grayscale. It literally bankrupted their firm. And only for the fact that Barry Silbert pulled off basically complete fraud, which he'd probably go to jail for, it stopped them from completely folding. So this is not someone you need to care about or worry about long term, but they are the ones that will have the most downward pressure on Bitcoin in the near term. And if the ETF trade was all the way up, I mean, we could go down to the lows. We could go there. Not saying we will, but that's possible. Price can go literally anywhere back down. It can go back to the retest point, and it might not. It might just stay around, chop around in this area. Everything gets too bearish, and away we go again. Because actually, it didn't matter what Grayscale were doing. There is overwhelming demand to buy Bitcoin and run it to all-time high before the halving. I don't think that's the case. I think if there's a path it's going to follow, it's going to be something like this, where it just sort of grinds down and is stuck under sell pressure for a long time. And then eventually people get hyper bearish on it and it just fucking roofs. Leaves them all behind. Whatever, I don't care. I'm not here to fucking predict the path. I've already said a couple of days ago I think the top's in. That's enough for me. I'm not interested in shorting. I'm not interested in turning into a bear now. I'm not interested in doing victory laps. And oh, look how smart I am. Look at you silly fucking balls. It's going down. So let everyone else be a doomer. Here's what you do. Or at least here's what I'm doing. For the next few weeks, Bitcoin is basically off the table. There's no point. Because we know that there are billionaires with billions of dollars who have proven that they want to sell. So no one's going to, it's game theory. No one's going to come in and pump Bitcoin. Like no No big player is going to come in and go, I'm going to buy loads of Bitcoin right now. Because they know that as soon as it pumps or moves up at all, they're going to get dumped on by Grayscale and whoever else. So we just move on to alts. Very simple. Alts are easier to pump. There's no overhang. There's no FUD. There's no bearishness. And away we go. So what you do need to keep an eye on for Bitcoin is obviously the market will bottom out when Bitcoin bottoms out. So like at a local bottom, I see Bitcoin, in fact I will go back to Bitcoin briefly. Remember the path I talked about yesterday? It's pretty much exactly what I expect to see from here. So we had the flush down, and was this the one where I'd drawn on? No. I think it's on the Binance chart. That's not it. So many charts. So many charts. So there was one where I'd drawn my paths on it. There's definitely this fucking chart. Let's see. Nope. There we go. So that's the path that I'm expecting. Don't know about this part, but I'm expecting it to bottom out in here and then run up. So basically what you're looking at from here is that it spends the next week or so, 4, 5, 6 days in this area. That's all that matters. I don't care if it goes up, down, sideways, how it looks. It just has to go sideways, right? And it has to do that for quite a while. It has to form a bottoming range, a base, a foot, whatever. And so if that's going to happen, I'm just going to check out and not care. I don't care about Bitcoin right now, believe it or not, even though I'm a massive maxi, because I hold spot long term, and I firmly believe it's the last coin you want to trade on the short term. So just let it do its thing. Check it every day, set your alerts, obviously, because if Bitcoin has big pumps or big dumps, it's going to affect the market. But if you start to see it just go sideways here between 40 and 42, which I talked about the other day, that's good. That's going to, at least in my opinion, set up a sweep of the highs, right? At the very least, and maybe even a breakout if it's bullish. That's my current base case, what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. But now it's all about ETH, and I'll actually just go to ETH BTC to show you. Like, it's just, what was my exact, the exact thing I said was that when ETH BTC bottoms out, it'll just go vertical all the way up, it'll get everyone excited, and then that's it. That'll be the top of ETH, and it'll just bleed back down. Not dissimilar to what it did in 2022 after the merge. This was the fake scam pump of ETH into the merge, right? When everyone thought that ETH was the greatest thing ever. And then guess what? It's so funny because ETH people think that ETH is great. Bitcoin people think Bitcoin's great. You know, everyone thinks that their own coin is like the best. Bitcoin's obviously the best. But especially these other ones that have teams, right? So this is the difference. Whenever ETH has a scam pump, the foundation dumps on you. Whenever the merge pump happened, the ETH Foundation dumped at the top. The literal creators, the insiders dumped on you and then caused all this. So whenever it happens at Bitcoin, people are, Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't have any insiders. Right? Grayscale, DCG, they're just people who accumulated a lot of Bitcoin over a long time on the open market. They're not insiders. They didn't get those tokens for free. The Ethereum Foundation did. Yet people have this Stockholm syndrome thinking that these centralized teams are somehow better than a decentralized protocol. It's not. So anyway, do I think that humans are going to still act like humans? Yes, I think they're going to pump it. I think they're going to dump on people, probably around the Denkun upgrade, which is in March, I believe. And then that's it. And then ETH will go back to bleeding against Bitcoin. So until ETH goes really to about somewhere up here, until ETH goes into that area somewhere against Bitcoin, it should be long ETH versus Bitcoin. Makes no sense to be long Bitcoin versus ETH when it's going on a dominance run like this with narratives and all that. Unless something major changes, I don't see that as I don't see any other path in that. This weekly reversal candle is just undeniable. That will lead to several weeks of outperformance, unless it's a major fake out, which I don't think it is. It could be, but I don't think it is. And I just don't think that there's anything in the market better to trade than ETH for the next little while. And then we go over to ETH and we look at ETH and we look at this massive breakout and we see right away, well, there's the liquidity for ETH. So 3,600 is on the table in the next few weeks. People forget too, like ETH's so much easier to pump. It's lower market cap. The supply is a lot more centralized and controlled. It's all about whether the ETH whales are letting you pump the market. Everyone's like, oh, ETH was shit, it's a stable coin, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's just because the ETH whales aren't pumping it yet. These coins need, they need to be moved initially by their whales. Just like any fucking stock is not going to go up if the insiders are selling. Right? This is not exclusive to crypto. This is every capital market on the planet. It's all about ownership. It's about control the supply, and then you can do whatever you want with the price. So, in any case, ETH is holding up fine at this area, but it's going to be choppy, I believe. And people are going to think it's over. They're going to cry and they're going to complain and they're going to give you all the reasons for why it's over. And I'd expect drop back, people get bearish, pumps up, people get bullish, up, and then away it goes. Probably towards the very, very end of its run, there might be a part where it stops getting choppy and it just goes vertical. And then that puts us around the Bitcoin halving, at which point everything will probably correct. And I think Bitcoin will then go on a massive dominance run into the end of the year, where ETH lags, but then ETH runs after Bitcoin, would be my guess. Right? That's my best guess at the moment. We'll see how it goes. The main thing to focus on for me is just ETH is going to outperform for a few weeks. And then altcoins, I mean, if you look at the total cap, big rejection of that. If you look at total 2, much stronger, right? So that's pretty clear, right? The difference of total and total 2 is telling you the market is bullish ETH. Total 3 looks fine. So what I think happens with total 3 is total 3 goes sideways for a little bit, then one more flush down into this 450 lows. That's the bottom on alts, and then alts have their next run. But I think ETH runs first. And so if total 3 does that, what did I expect for total 2, or just for ETH in general? But I'll do it with total 2 on it so it's easy to visualize. Will be something like this. And so this total 3 is the same exact path that I've talked about, just basically where total 3 has to chop around and around and around, doesn't make new highs, doesn't make significant new lows, as it just goes into a reaccumulation process. And at the same time, I think that ETH will push back up. It'll have a pump up, but it'll either take the highs or it'll just fall short of them. It'll have a flush, and then away it'll go. There we go. Because if ETH rallies up here, which I don't think it goes lower. I think now over the weekend, we're kind of, what we saw yesterday was capitulation, massive capitulation on Bitcoin, which is probably a local low for a while. We'll probably grind down into the wick, then rally up. But if Bitcoin goes sideways, ETH's going to rally. And so if we take this over here, I'll get into, in fact, no, I'll do that in trade of the day. So I'll leave that as it is, the daily levels. Trade of the day, I'll map Bitcoin and ETH side by side to show what kind of rough paths they expect to see. All right, GM.